Hi, everyone. I've been asked a question. Um, Oftentimes, actually, being asked a question is like, how did I get gigs internationally? Uh, how'd you go to Europe? How'd you go to Asia? And how did you make all of those trips? Uh, how did they know you and all of that stuff? So, well, you know, I have to tell you, as a teacher, when before my gigs internationally, I was already popular in the Bay Area because I technically popularized bachata in the Bay Area. Now, I wasn't the one who started teaching bachata in the Bay Area. The one who started was Armando Tam, and it was a temporary thing for him, and I don't think it really got that popular. And then Armando was one who really introduced me to bachata. And so when he quit that and nobody else was teaching, I started teaching bachata. Of course, I was already dancing it for like 3 or 4 years. So when there was no one else, I started teaching bachata. And that's how I got popular in the Bay Area, because actually no one really liked bachata in the Bay Area then. It was mostly salsa, it was mostly Latin ballroom, and no one really respected or liked bachata. So it was just a matter of slowly promoting bachata in the Bay Area. Now I got popular with that, and then social media was just starting at that time. I already had salsagang.com, which was a website forum chat, and at that time that was the version of Facebook or MySpace, you want to name it. And so that's how we promoted our events. But as MySpace was just starting, bachata was also just starting in the Bay Area, and that's how I got popular. And then videos were shared and all of that stuff. And the very first gig I've ever had internationally was in Australia at the very first bachata festival, Sydney Bachata Festival. Mind you, this was the very first bachata festival in the world. That was in 2008 of April. And I got invited there. Of course I did it for free, and I'll tell you why I did that. And then after that, right a week after, I was invited to Swedish Bachata Festival, which was the first bachata festival in Sweden. And then after Sweden, I got invited to Finland, Tampere, Finland, for the first bachata festival also. And then on and on, I got invited to Europe, Poland, Lithuania, mostly Eastern Europe, and then London, and then Brussels in Belgium, and then Netherlands. Everywhere in Europe, pretty much I was teaching for like the period of 3 years. And then Asia, Japan, Korea, let's see, where else in Japan? Korea, Malaysia. Was it Malaysia? Yeah, it was Malaysia and Singapore. All over the place. And then Canada, of course. Let's not forget Canada, right? And then all over United States also. Now, before my gig of Australia, which is Sydney Bachata Festival, I have been teaching at congresses, quote unquote, okay? Because at that time, they were slowly opening to the idea that there should be a bachata room, okay? And at that time, in the old days, there were only 5 people teaching bachata in the world. I'm talking in the world. We're talking about Nestor Manuelan and Juan Ruiz in Australia. We got Tony Lara in Europe. We have Jorge Elizondo in USA. Rodney Aquino, that's me, in USA. Ataka Limana and Troy and Georgette was not popular right by then. I think it was the first year, or 2008. That's when, and then all of the videos are coming, Ataka Limana, and all that stuff. But, so anyways, Jorge Elizondo, Nestor Manuelan, Juan Ruiz, me, Frank Santos in Europe, and God, there's another artist that was teaching in Europe also who really popularized Bachata Moderna. But Iñaki Okay, Iñaki Fernandez. Okay, anyways, so at that time, we were being hired left and right. Okay, but I was not known in Europe. I was a nobody. Yes, I was somebody in the Bay Area. That's just the Bay Area. I was not somebody nationally either. I mean, they discovered me in LA and they called me Rodchata. By the way, I didn't create that name. Somebody created it in LA when somebody saw me dancing with Olivia Dasso. Olivia Dasso was Johnny Vasquez's former partner, a very popular salsera, and I was dancing at Granada. And then they shared that video. So that's how I got my name. Somebody, I think Milton is his name, coined me that name, and I didn't know it then that I was going to use it. So predominantly just California, I was known, but I was a nobody everywhere else. Okay, so when the opportunity came, and I was teaching already all over the place, like Reno Dance Sensation. I was the very first one to put Bachata in the map in Reno, hired by Chuck Brown for Reno Dancation, which was a WCS, West Coast Swing event, but they have a Latin part. And then in Salsa Extravaganza, as they call it, but also West Coast Swing, organized by Jay Bayan, right in Palm Springs. So I got involved and included in their teaching staff. So whenever they have West Coast Swing, they have Salsa Latin to it. And so whether it was Chico Dance Sensation, Reno Dance Sensation, Hawaii Dance Sensation, and then Palm Springs. So I was teaching already back then, before salsa congresses put bachata in their room or put bachata in their courses. And of course, San Francisco Salsa Congress, ran by Michelle Castro and Ricardo Sanchez, I respect them for doing that. And they put a bachata room there, and they had me hosted the rooms every year. And then Albert Torres took a notice of me, and he started hiring me to teach bachata also. And Choco also took a notice of me for New York Salsa Congress and started hiring me for teaching bachata. Not to mention, he had me hosted the bachata room there also. So slowly I was getting known in the United States for teaching bachata, but internationally I was a nobody. So when the opportunity came for me to teach at the very first bachata festival in Sydney, I didn't care whether I was going to get paid or not. I just wanted to take the gig. So I took the gig because, in my opinion, it was my opportunity to be exposed, and it was my opportunity to network. It was also my opportunity to teach my craft in bachata. And if people like it, marketing 101, guys, if people like it, people will be talking about it. Word of mouth is still the king of marketing. It's not Instagram. It's not like the social media, we show videos and all of that stuff. Not really, because most of those videos, you don't really show your true skills because they're cut. They're edited. Not to mention those likes that you see, they're bought. So back then it was real, and word of mouth was king. And word of mouth is still king. Now, that was the first year. Now, that was a free gig, Sydney Bachata Festival. But then, the moment people heard that I was teaching at Sydney Bachata Festival, I got a call from Sweden. It's like, hey, we want to hire you to teach bachata here, the very first bachata festival in Sweden. You're part of the lineup. Tony Lara and Daniela will be in the lineup as well. It's just gonna be the three of you in the lineup. I was like, that's kind of nice. Sure, I'm in. How much? Well, we're gonna pay you this. We're gonna pay for your flight. We're gonna pay for your room, and you're gonna be teaching all day, 1.5 hour workshop each day. and you're gonna get paid this much. Mind you, at that day, there was no 1 hour workshop, man. And not just that. After that 1 hour workshop, you'll probably be teaching 4 or 5 workshops a day. Now, at that time, guys, bachata was just on its infancy outside of the Dominican community. Okay, we're talking about the Bronx, we're talking about New Orleans. Outside of that community, bachata was not known. So therefore, there were not a lot of materials to teach. Not a lot, okay? So if you're teaching for 3 days, 4 hours or 4 workshops a day, you're going to run out of materials. Now, you already at that time when bachata was just starting, we were teaching fundamentals, and mostly fundamentals, not a lot of patterns. Well, there were a lot of patterns by then because most of the bachata teachers are coming from salsa, which I was also coming from salsa, but I was also coming from Latin ballroom. So most of our influences then were driven by our background, Latin dancing, salsa, or what have you. Okay, so there were not a lot of materials. So forgive my French. When we ran out of materials, we ended up just making up shit. That's right. We were just making up shit in line with the very structure of bachata we were teaching, whether it was bachata moderna, which predominantly was Europeans, or whether bachata dominicana, but at that time it was already bachata fusion. I was already teaching bachata fusion at that time. That includes Jorge Elizondo also from USA. So that was then. But then my second gig, I was getting paid already. And then the great thing is that the more you teach anywhere, especially internationally, the more word of mouth you're going to create. The students that you taught are going to spread the words like, hey, this guy Rodchata, he's good. He's got some moves and we could actually use these moves during social dancing. So again, for the rookies out there, marketing is not just you being known or exposed. Well, you better be good once you're exposed. You better be worth it once you're exposed. You better be good to a point that it's worth it for them to pay you, to pay for your flight, to pay for your meals, and to pay for your hotel, and to promote you. So it's not just getting a lot of likes, getting a lot of exposure. How did you treat your students, and how did the students like you? In social dancing also, we dance with everyone. I mean, it's not like, hey, where's Rodchata? Oh, he's probably in his hotel room. He's probably going to come in around 2 a.m. There was no such thing. It was not contracted or anything. There was nothing talked about whether I was going to social dance and it's going to be part of my pay. It was given. It was automatic as a dancer, as a teacher, that you dance. So dance all night. We got to meet a lot of people. We got to meet promoters. We got to meet teachers, studio owners, and those are your network. Because if they like you, if they got and liked what you taught, they're going to invite you and expose you to their students. That's exactly what happened to me, Now, mind you, I still had hair. I think I was better looking then than now because I got wrinkles and all that. I'm 56 years old. When I started teaching bachata all over the place, I was in my early 20s. No, not early 20s. I was wrong. Early 30s. Now, early 30s, you see. So that was then. Now, a lot of people are asking me now, I was like, well, I deal with this every time I have a festival. And that is a rookie wants to teach at my festival. That's number one. And so they would contact me. Can I teach at your festival? It's like, well, number one, I don't know this person. Number two, this person sent me videos of them dancing, blah, blah, blah. And if I don't like the videos because I could tell that their basics are not up to par, I would say, I'm declining at this moment. But one of these days, look me up again, That's another thing. Another thing is when you approach me like that and I don't know you, You're not going to demand payment. I mean, say, hey, Rodney, I'm just starting and I want to teach at your festival, and here are my fees. You'll never get a response from me, okay? Because number one, I seek the people that I like, that I want to spend my ROI with, my return of investment. So ROI, okay, return of investment. What are you going to bring to the table? Well, because you're a good teacher, well, that's fine. But we don't know you. We've never known you. You're probably only popular in the Bay Area. Now, Bay Area artists, because I'm from the Bay Area, I can tell you, okay? If you first teach at congresses, like even the first year, back in the day, you don't get paid. Why? Because you're starting to be promoted. You're starting to get known, and you're starting to build your skills and repertoire to the students. And then, of course, yeah, again, if you're a good teacher, it's word of mouth. They're going to be talking about you. But then another thing, if you're a bad teacher, they're also going to be talking about you. So, no, you didn't get paid, okay? The only time you get paid is you teach the second or third time where you're starting to be known, okay? So again, congresses versus teaching in the clubs or teaching as the studios are two totally different things. If you teach at my gigs at Allegro, I'll pay you because you're known in the Bay Area. I'll pay you because you already have your established class maybe for years. So yeah, I see your worth there. I'll pay you. But if we're talking about salsa festivals, salsa congresses, bachata expos, bachata congresses, that's a totally different story because we're not talking just about nationally, we're talking internationally. It's an international event. Therefore, you are blessed to even just be there in the lineup. Okay, and then you build your credibility. You build, people will know about you, and if they like you, because you're gonna meet promoters, you're gonna meet studio owners, they're going to invite you. That's how you build your portfolio. That's how your popularity is created. And then you can ask for money, and then you can ask for what you're worth. Hey, if you want me there for 3 workshops, these are my fees, and I want a flight, and blah blah blah. Those sort of things. Now, I see some youngsters and rookies complaining, no, I don't know. I approached him, but he didn't want to pay me. Of course, I didn't want to pay you because you're not known. Yeah, that you're probably known in the Bay Area. That's totally different. If you're teaching on my gig locally, weekly, or monthly, that's understandable. And I always pay people when it comes to the local gigs. Now, if you're teaching internationally at festivals, that's a different story, guys. And you gotta be patient because by then you're building up slowly your resume. Okay, and your resume is very important. One teacher just asked me, he's like, hey, can I teach at your festival? It's like, number one, I don't know this person. Number two, I need to see the video of this person. The video of this person it's still amateur. And so I said to this person, you're not ready. Look me up after 3 years. Okay. Oh, well, my students said, I don't think they'll disagree. So send me a resume. And I look at the resume. Now, again, a lot of people could fake their bios. But even if you fake your bios, I'll be able to see which one is true and which one is legit. Okay? Because I've been there for a long time, And so, again, it's one thing to write your bio and to be impressive about it. It's another thing to have references. Okay? As promoters, as people, we all know each other. We all talk to each other. We all have a private chat. Okay? When it comes to new teachers, especially new teachers, yes, we do talk about you because, look, the way we became teachers is a hard thing. It was a process, guys. It's not just an instant thing where we could create an Instagram account and we're gonna create TikTok and we're gonna put some tips and we're gonna create groups, and then a lot of people, our friends especially, and of course we buy some likes and people like it. That's a totally different story, but that's not hard work. Hard work is, it takes time to be known as a good teacher, or a teacher of some sort in a dance, from a dance discipline. Takes time, and nowadays we don't have that. And so therefore, when you send us your video and we look at your techniques, we do not look at your fancy techniques. We look at your basics. We look at your fundamentals, because from your fundamentals and from your basic, then we could determine where you are coming from, where you are coming from, how you learn to dance. So don't get hurt if someone doesn't pay you or does not offer to pay you, especially big promoters of congresses, and you ask to be put on the slot. Don't be surprised if people don't want to pay you that way because you're still new. We all started that way. There's nothing to be crying about, okay? It doesn't matter if you're, like I said, I told you, I was already popular in the Bay Area, but I was a nobody internationally. I had to build my presence. And so, and the way we built our presence was not videos. The way we built our presence, and even to this day, is word of mouth. The students we taught, those students that came to festivals, international events, are from somewhere, and they'll be talking about you. Okay, now what else are we talking about? That's how I got gigs, guys. That's how we got popular. And of course, a different story to some people, but that's my story. Now, being a teacher, being a dance teacher or an instructor. Okay, there's a difference between a dance instructor and a dance teacher, by the way, if you guys don't know that yet. In our industry, teaching, DJing, promoting are probably the one that could last longer. Okay, not performance, not not performance per se, because a lot of people are trying to promote looks right now, how beautiful they are, whether they swing their body with their skimpy clothes and whatever, okay, or shirtless, for male. It's not going to work out, because after about probably 5 years to 10 years from now, you're not going to look the same, okay? You're going to get old, and there's no cure for getting old. I mean, no cure. There's no treatment for reversing your age. There's nothing. But if you're a good teacher, if you're not just a good teacher, if you're an effective teacher, not just an effective teacher shows that his or her students, their students, become even better than them. That's a testimony right there, and that's your resume. And you could teach when you're even 100 years old. Your skills will never be erased, and people will seek you out. Now, here's another thing for students. Oh, I can't learn bachata because the studio is so far. You're crazy. Oh, I want to learn from Rodchata, or I want to learn from Georgette because, yeah, but she's from Texas and Rodney's from Reno now. It's too far. When we were learning dance, it didn't matter, man. We would drive up there. Some people would literally fly to San Francisco, when I used to live in San Francisco, for a weekend to learn from me. That shows you their determination. And as a teacher, when you see that, you're also determined to make sure that they get trained properly, because this is what they're going to offer and they're going to bring later on when they become teacher. So again, to conclude, you get gigs by building your presence, by word of mouth, and by the way you teach your students how they learn from you. Number 2, you maintain your presence, just basically your students. You get students here now and then. Teaching beginners is probably the way to go, because teaching beginners, that beginner level is probably the most important stage in learning to dance. The intermediate is the dangerous stage. Oh my God. The intermediate already thinks they know everything. They think they're already advanced. You would see this when an advanced class is offered or advanced workshop is offered at congresses, and half of them cannot follow that much. Why? Because they did not master their fundamentals yet. They're supposed to be in the beginner class. Okay? So, what's impressive though is that advanced students or even teachers would take basic class from any given teacher. Why is basic class sought by everyone, including advanced levels? Because every teacher that present and teach fundamentals is different. Their approach is different. And so these advanced students or already pros still take this workshop because they're just trying to get ideas. How they structure their courses, how they explain things, how the presenter presents this syllabus that they created. So, and it's always good to practice basics anyway, because if you've been dancing for 30 years, you haven't been practicing the basic, then given as you show your video, it would tell you, it's like, his basics is, maybe he needs to rehash it, maybe he needs to practice it again, because practicing basics is an everyday thing. Practicing basics, it should be norm, just like practicing martial arts, just like practicing piano, just like practicing voice, just like practicing tennis. In your first period of practice or training, you practice the basics. It's the same thing in dancing, guys. It's the same thing. So marketing, word of mouth, it's still the best. Now, you do not demand payment on the first gig you have if you're still a nobody. When I say nobody, I don't say that in a negative word. Nobody knows you yet. And that word yet is very important, because it's how you treat it. It's how you treat the nobody knows you yet, but someday I will be known. If you have that mentality, you'll go far, and you're going to be teaching when you're 90 or something. But anyway, that's how I answer the questions, and most of the time I get that questions answered. All right.